Well, the month of May has arrived and the daffodils and tulips have lost their colourful springtime allure and are now being smothered by what we call weeds, which are plants that arrive in the garden uninvited and don't have to be sown by human hand. But weeds include some of the most beautiful and interesting of wildflowers, and among them is Fumitory. Growing here in such profusion, you'd almost think that the Woodfield gardeners had deliberately planted it for our admiration, and there is much to admire. Structurally, the flowers are very simple, but the floral parts are arranged in a way that makes them difficult to describe in clear and simple terms. There are 4 long, narrow petals, intricately tucked and folded together, but in a way that ensures that everything slips back into place when a visiting insect has departed after its nectar foraging visit. This lowest petal is spoon-like at the front and acts as a landing platform for arriving insects. Here are the 2 wing petals, one on either side, with the nectar guides that tell the visitor to reach up over them and insert its proboscis along a furrow in the 4th roof petal to reach the nectar, which is secreted and stored at the base of this curved spur at the back, getting an abundant dusting of pollen as it does so. But here's the really unusual and surprising thing. In spite of this elaborate floral architecture, Fumitory is hardly ever visited by insects. So we must presume that this highly unusual floral design was developed in association with a group of insects that are no longer around. Now it may be that as farming began to spread 10,000 or so years ago, Fumitory moved from a more natural habitat into arable land, and this led to the loss of an ancestral association with a group of pollinating insects that, for one reason or another, choose not to follow Fumitory into the cornfields of the early farmers. The name is something of a mystery. The word Fumitory comes from the Latin name fumus terrae, earth's smoke. There was an ancient belief that Fumitory originated as smoke rising from the ground, congealed to this fern-like tracery of foliage by wind and sun. Another suggestion is that the name refers to the way the watery sap of the crushed foliage causes your eyes to water, the way they would in smoke, which watering of the eyes, incidentally, was said to drive out evil spirits. For a plant we regard as a useless weed, Fumitory had an exceptional range of medicinal uses in the past. In fact, it's hardly an exaggeration to say that it was used somewhere or other at some time or another to treat almost everything. And in fact, that's what the scientific name for the plant suggests. The scientific name is Fumaria officinalis. Fumaria, of course, is the Latin word for Fumitory, and officinalis means used in medicine. And I have a shortened alphabetical list here of the conditions it was used to treat. Arteriosclerosis, bile disorders, blood purifier, conjunctivitis and inflamed eyes, constipation, cystitis, depression, dropsy, dyskinesia, which are involuntary muscle movements, fluid retention, freckles, gout, gripe, heart problems, hypoglycemia, intestinal spasms, irritable bowel syndrome, kidney disorders, jaundice, plague, rheumatism, scurvy, skin sores and blemishes. Tobacco made with the dried leaves was said to be good for the head, and a yellow dye was made from the flowers. And finally, Fumitory has earned a place in English literature in a memorably descriptive line in the poetry of Gerard Manley Hopkins. This is in a poem entitled The Woodlark. And down the furrow dry, spun spurge and ox-eye and lace-leaved, lovely, foam-tufted Fumitory.